A lot of people miss the irony of my book title. You shouldn't trust me, of course, because I used to work in public relations. Many people, PRs, politicians, estate agents, have never been trusted. And they and we live with a permanent trust deficit. And this exposes one of the first false beliefs, that trust itself is in permanent decline. Trust in politicians or estate agents or PR people is not in decline, it's just forever low. And commentators have described recent events at Thomas Cook as a PR disaster. This, of course, is true. But what we see is not a failure in communications, it's a substantive failure. It's a failure in behavior. It's a failure in meeting the moral and ethical standards which citizens should rightly demand from any modern corporation. How can anyone trust Thomas Cook when they behave like this, when they fail to do the right thing? For me, the crisis of trust is in fact a crisis of leadership. It's a failure to rise to the challenges of the world as it is now, and frequently, it is a failure to make the right judgment and to do the right thing. So to find a better way, we have to challenge prevailing business orthodoxy. In my book, I say quite openly that I would happily retire the trust word, the T word, from the English language for a while. I think we need time to reflect on what it really means to be trusted or trustworthy. The word has been used and abused to the point of exhaustion. And in research conducted for this conference here today among the annual reports of FTSE 100 companies over the last decade, it turns out that the trust word was mentioned just 38 times in 2005, but has climbed rather steadily since, appearing on 317 occasions in 2014. But one thing is certain, trust is an outcome, it's not a message. And this is where so many leaders constantly fail. Actually, Bernays, according to popular culture or popular legend, was the godfather of modern public relations. It was his brainchild, and no accident that he was the nephew of Sigmund Freud. He created PR in the United States in the 1920s and 30s as a means of control over the masses. Why? Because he did not trust the judgment of real people. And Bernays' legacy is one reason why PR is no longer fit for purpose and is not the answer to the trust problem. Because no one is in control any longer. And anyone who thinks they are, anyone who thinks they can impose rather than negotiate trusted relationships is quite frankly living in the wrong century. And to further understand this lack of control and to answer the question, who can we trust, we have to understand a very important megatrend that runs through society today, and that is the megatrend of individual empowerment. And this is an axiomatic power shift from state to citizen, from employer to employee, from corporation to citizen consumer. It's fueled, accelerated by technology, by costless communications, and by the rise of networks. This new world is not just chaotic, it's pretty complex too. The networks are interdependent. We may trust others within our networks, but we're unlikely to trust those who think they can impose external control. So the complexity further adds to the chaos. Trusted leaders understand this complexity. So the revolution is happening in the workplace. Driven by technology, social networks, the culture of activism that we've talked about, old corporate hierarchies and elites are being flattened. Everyone knows everything, everyone can connect with anyone, whistleblowers, social media campaigns, citizens and journalists, they're all going to get you. The days of controlling the media are receding fast. Resistance, quite frankly, is increasingly futile. So the successful, more trusted organization of the future will be open, empathetic, relational. Well, first, let's return to that first myth of trust. Trust is not a message, it is an outcome. It is deeply behavioral. The second myth is that somehow there is a silver bullet or a magic wand that can restore broken trust. There isn't. No single action will do it. In a chaotic, complex world, nothing singularly can restore, build, or maintain trust. Why? Because trust is now forever fragile. Trust has to be hard fought, hard earned, hard won every day. And because of this fragility, we can better understand the third myth, that there can be no return to old trust, often cited in the banking sector as the Captain Mannering figure behind the large oak desk on the High Street Bank. We have to come to terms with the world as it is now, not the world as it once was, and the cliche that change is never going to be this slow again. And finally, in my experience, there is an inversely proportional relationship. Trust often spoken is trust rarely earned. The public leadership model and public leaders is citizen-centric and society first. It is based on the principle of doing the right thing, recognizing that it is possible to reconcile profit and planet, and to understand the all-important distinction between profit optimization and profit maximization. Now, I'm not calling for the downfall of capitalism. What I am saying is that there can be a more imaginative way. And unless and until we come to terms with better profit, we may never come to terms with better trust. But what about this relationship or this distinction between trustworthiness and trust? The aim to have more trust is a stupid aim, argued the moral philosopher Onur O'Neill in 2013. Intelligently placed and intelligently refused trust should be the proper aim. Trustworthiness, and therefore better judgment, matters much more to Onur than trust does. Better judgment, she says, is based on a combination of competence, reliability, and honesty. Reciprocal vulnerability makes accountability mutual. Reciprocal vulnerability means that organizations are as exposed to their employees and their customers as their customers and their employees have traditionally been exposed to them. And the trusted organization, in my mind, is where, metaphorically at least, the leadership stands naked before those that it serves. Because no one can learn if they do not listen, and no one can be trustworthy if they do not demonstrate reciprocal vulnerability. And this demands ethical, principled behavior, just as it demands ethical, principled leadership. I think we need actions, not words. So the answer to all of this does not lie with crafting clever narratives, managing messages, or spewing meaningless platitudes. To be more trusted, we need to create shareholder value in responsible ways and not use bullshit CSR to cloak responsibility. We need to think about profit optimization, not profit maximization. We need to think and act in terms of public value. We need to celebrate collaboration, not competition. We need new models of accountability and be prepared to stand naked. We need to say sorry when only a proper sorry will do. And above all, we need actions, not words. So making the right decisions and doing the right thing have never been more important.